The next person I'm gonna call to the stage is a young lady. I hope she's still here. She goes by the name of Mentally Imprisoned. Put your hands together and show your love for Mentally Imprisoned.
As some of you may know, some of you may not, I'm all the way from South Jersey. I go by the name of Mentally Imprisoned. Tonight I want to share with you a poem that was more or less dedicated to my father, who I say that there's not too many men who can come to me with excuses as to why they don't take care of the seeds, because my father took care of me from behind a prison wall. So this is dedicated to him. Bastard child by society. I was branded a bastard child by society. Growing up in my life was hard. Experiences in my childhood that left permanent scars. You see, with a dad behind prison bars and a mom at one time was strung out on the streets, I grew up very lonely. If it wasn't for my grandparents, I would have had nobody. And although I appreciate everything that they've done for me, I regret the fact that they allowed me to run freely without teaching me how to accept responsibility. That's why it made it so much harder for me to grow up on these streets. I was branded a bastard child by society because my dad wasn't around physically, but he was always there for me, mentally and emotionally, opening my eyes and my mind to this messed up society. Most of the lessons I needed to learn, he taught me. And he always reminded me daily how I will always be his #1 beautiful lady. My dad was the only man who could read through my soul without even speaking to me, which was a beautiful thing because I didn't always feel like talking. When I was suffocating, he taught me how to breathe. And when my mind drifted off, he brought me back to reality. He pulled the wool off my eyes so that I could see what others were blinded by so easily. He taught me about these streets. And from time to time, we all slip. Nobody's perfect. My dad could see through the phony mask that I put on for this family. And even as a child, he could see that I was sneaky. It just always amazed me how he knew how I had something up my sleeve. He would say to me, sit me down at visiting on the weekend and say, slow down, sweetie. Your life will be lived as it is meant to be. And not only, oh Lord, excuse me, sorry.
Go ahead, poet.
He would sit down and say, slow down, sweetie, your life will be lived as it is meant to be. And I only teach you so much about these streets, so you don't end up like your daddy. Locked down behind 4 walls that some days feel like they're closing into me. Killing myself mentally because I am unable to see my little girl grow up into a beautiful young lady. That's the last thing I want for you is to be sitting here next to me, or even worse, 6 feet deep. So please, listen to me. And there's words of wisdom that always stuck with me, like a good old song that's been placed on repeat. My dad is the only one that can lecture me, because he had lived through all the stories. And even with fall after fall, he would show me how he would get himself up, wipe himself off, and remain strong all 13 years behind those prison walls. So see, I was named a bastard child, but only by society, because my dad didn't fit the profile of a good dad. But my dad was always there for me emotionally and mentally, and that's why there's not a person on these streets that could come to me with any excuse as to why they don't take care of the seed. Because if my father could have a hand in raising me from behind a justice facility, literally, then you have no reason and no excuse as to why you can't do it with your freedom and being out on these streets. And as I will always say, in my world, I will always be daddy's little girl.
Roll smooth with a